The recent broadcast of Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour featured a discussion that quickly became the central topic across the racing community. Joey Logano stepped into the host seat and directed attention toward the diverging career trajectories of Connor Zilisch and Carson Hocevar. The segment examined how the fan base processes rookie performances and handles aggressive racing styles. Connor Zilisch arrived at the National Series with an open-wheel background and a direct connection to JR Motorsports. Online forums have drawn comparisons between his racing style and the early career of Jeff Gordon, noting a similar transition from single-seater competition to stock car racing. The on-track results have presented a difficult adjustment period. During the event in San Diego, Zilisch operated near the front before making contact with Austin Hill and recording a did-not-finish result. That incident contributed to a sequence of consecutive back-of-grid finishes that challenged early expectations. The statistical pattern prompted widespread discussion regarding his adaptation process. The narrative shifted during the Sonoma race when Zilisch secured a 7th-place result, marking his first top 10 finish. The performance provided measurable evidence that his baseline speed can convert into competitive positioning. Joey Logano utilized his own career timeline to frame the discussion around rookie development. He addressed the statistical struggles directly and emphasized the necessity of extended evaluation periods for new competitors. Logano stated, "Connor will do it. Connor is an amazing talent. He's great, but a diamond in the rough at the moment. He just needs to be around long enough." The commentary carried historical context because Logano experienced a comparable career inflection point early in his professional tenure. During his initial tenure at Joe Gibbs Racing, he faced intense scrutiny and nearly exited the Premier Division before his performance stabilized. The transition to Team Penske in 2013 provided a structural reset that allowed his career to progress toward championship contention. Logano explained the psychological impact of that period by saying, "I almost lost my chance. I mean, I technically did until Team Penske gave me a second chance, but I was this close to not making it. Forget 3 championships not making it, not driving race cars." The historical precedent demonstrates that extended performance runways are necessary for drivers to adjust to Premier Division competition. The structural difference between developmental series and the Premier Division remains the most significant variable in rookie adaptation. Logano provided a direct analysis of the competitive gap that separates the feeder series from the national championship. He stated, "The jump from the O'Reilly Series to the Cup Series is the largest jump in motorsports, period. Nothing against what's going on in the O'Reilly Series. I'm like, I can beat that. And then I'm just watching them just laying 2 black marks off the corner, just going burnouts off the corner. I'm like, holy cow, these guys are really good. And I couldn't keep up." The operational difference requires drivers to master mechanical grip management, tire preservation, and track position strategies simultaneously. The discussion shifted to Carson Hocevar, who operates with a completely different public reception despite sharing similar competitive characteristics. Hocevar drives for Spire Motorsports and maintains a competitive style that generates immediate visibility. His approach has not earned widespread approval from veteran competitors within the garage, yet his fan engagement metrics continue to rise rapidly. Logano evaluated the driver's technical capabilities alongside his behavioral patterns and offered a structured assessment of his long-term trajectory. He acknowledged the baseline speed while highlighting the operational risks associated with the current approach. Logano described the competitive methodology by noting that the driver operates with a willingness to sling the car into available spaces and accept the resulting outcomes. The operational model prioritizes immediate position gains over conservative race management. Logano connected this methodology to historical championship data and warned that the approach carries a documented performance cost. He stated, "I've made the mistakes. I know this. I've cost myself, I think, at least a championship." The statistical record confirms that championship-winning teams consistently prioritize point accumulation over isolated track position gains. Logano posed a direct question regarding long-term objectives. Do you want to win a one-off race here and there, or do you want to win championships? The cultural distinction between veteran drivers and the newer competitor generation creates a measurable difference in public engagement. Logano addressed the communication styles and digital presence that separate his career era from the current rookie class. He observed, "I don't know what he's talking about half the time. I don't know what these words mean, but people love it and there's no denying that, and that's great. That's great for our sport." The digital communication framework allows newer drivers to maintain direct contact with younger demographics without relying on traditional media channels. The marketing value of this direct engagement has been quantified by broadcast metrics and sponsorship growth. Hocevar operates as a primary acquisition channel for audiences who previously did not follow stock car racing. The data indicates a sustained increase in viewership during events featuring his competitive runs. The structural advantage provides a buffer against traditional performance criticism because the audience relationship is established through personality rather than statistical dominance. The competitive dynamics were tested during the Sonoma event when track position and pack racing produced a multi-car incident. On lap 64, contact initiated a sequence that moved Denny Hamlin from 6th position to the rear of the field. The immediate public reaction assigned primary responsibility to Hocevar, but the technical review presented a more complex operational sequence. Hamlin addressed the incident during his broadcast and provided a detailed breakdown of the contact sequence. He explained that the incident resulted from sustained pack pressure and multiple cars maintaining proximity without lifting. Hamlin stated, "In the end, I'm very comfortable in saying that wreck was a racing deal." The technical data indicated that the incident involved cars 77, 6, and 48 operating in a compressed formation where track width and braking zones created unavoidable proximity. Motorsports analyst Steve Laird examined the telemetry and concluded that road course racing itself generated the pressure that resulted in contact. He noted that the driver directly behind the contact point typically receives public criticism regardless of the initiating sequence. Hocevar provided his operational account by stating that he monitored his mirrors, attempted to avoid a spin sequence, and did not recognize the contact until the cars separated. The statistical outcome showed Hamlin finishing in 26th place while simultaneously moving into first in the championship standings. The public response to the incident highlighted a measurable difference in how the audience processes aggressive racing across different career eras. Logano compared his historical reception with the current treatment of Hocevar and identified a statistical inconsistency in fan behavior. He noted that he continues to receive negative audience reactions for competitive incidents that occurred 16 years ago during his initial tenure. The historical record shows that Logano faced sustained criticism after early career contact with veteran competitors. He contrasted that timeline with the current environment by stating, "This kid comes in and wrecks way more people than I ever did, and people love him. How does this happen? What am I missing?" The operational difference requires examination of multiple variables that influence audience perception. The data points to a combination of digital communication, personality branding, and generational media consumption habits. The structural shift in how fans engage with racing content has altered the traditional feedback loop between on-track incidents and public reaction. The statistical comparison confirms that incident frequency alone does not determine audience approval in the current competitive landscape. The operational differences between the two eras can be traced to documented changes in media distribution and competitor branding strategies. The current generation utilizes streaming platforms and social media channels to build direct audience relationships before reaching the Premier Division. The marketing framework creates a personality-first engagement model that reduces reliance on traditional performance metrics for audience retention. Some observers suggest that the audience actively seeks a competitive antagonist to drive engagement, and Hocevar operates within that structural role. Another variable involves historical competitor relationships, as Logano directed early criticism toward established figures like Kevin Harvick, which historically influences long-term fan alignment. The structural differences do not invalidate performance standards but demonstrate how audience acquisition has evolved. The operational reality requires drivers to balance aggressive racing with long-term point accumulation. Zane Smith recently completed his 100th career start and referenced the development timeline required to master Premier Division competition. He credited Denny Hamlin for teaching race preservation strategies and credited Joey Logano for demonstrating incremental track position gains. The statistical record confirms that championship success requires multi-year development cycles, consistent equipment feedback, and strategic race management. The current competitive environment will determine whether the extended evaluation period applies equally to all drivers or whether demographic shifts will permanently alter performance expectations. If this breakdown of the current competitive landscape and driver development timelines provided valuable context for your viewing experience, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel for ongoing coverage of Premier Division racing, technical analysis, and championship tracking.